Hi, my name is Nick and welcome to Distilling in Australia. And today is day 7.5, so it's been 7.5 days since we charged the fermenter and got it going. Today I'm going to be popping the lid and showing you what we're up to, running a test on specific gravity, pH and all those sorts of bits of information, and working out how much alcohol we've managed to get in the last 7.5 days. But as usual, here is 5 seconds of your life you'll never get back. Okay, so as you can see, the temperature is still around about 28 degrees and it's holding steady at 28 degrees. It's been doing that for the last few days. Activity has gone down a little bit. As I have said all along, I'm no guru here and I'm learning as I'm going along. So I have made some mistakes, and I've always said I'm happy to share those mistakes with you. So first one I will confess to is that when I hydrated the yeast, I actually used the sugar wash to do that. Now, I read the instructions, but I obviously misread the instructions, and I was supposed to do that in just warm, plain water. So that was a mistake. I shouldn't have rehydrated the sugar. I shouldn't have rehydrated the yeast in the sugar wash. I should have just rehydrated it in plain warm water and then put it into the fermenter at that point. So that was something I got wrong, and a couple of people made comments about that, and they were right about that. So I don't do that. Read your instructions for your yeast and don't do what I did. Didn't seem to affect the process too much, but again, this is a sacrificial batch, so we're not going to be drinking it anyway, so I wasn't too worried about it. But obviously for future references, I'll be using the proper method of rehydrating in plain water. Now, for those of you who are new to the channel, and this might be the first time you're watching this channel, this is a series of videos about my journey on becoming a legal distiller. Where I am sitting is actually a licensed distillery, so everything I do here is legal. If you're wondering how I'm able to do this, well, that's how, because this is a licensed establishment, and I am licensed to operate this fermenter and still on my right here as well. Now, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, share with friends. Just help the channel out. And if you want to, we have a private Facebook group called Distilling in Australia. So if you want to join that group, please go. Be free to join it. There are 3 questions. Please answer every one of the questions, because if you don't answer the questions, I will reject you. So just make sure you do. Oops, there's the phone. Excuse me. Okay, sorry about that. I'm back. That was the insurance broker. So just finalising a few bits and pieces with the insurance. Please remember, make sure you check your insurance, even your contents insurance. If you're running a business from home like this, even your contents insurance will be affected if you haven't disclosed it or got the right cover. So please, if you've got any doubts about insurance, go back, have a look at the videos about insurance, bloody insurance, because I can assure you that there are some pitfalls there, and need to be aware of them. Anyway, so where was I up to? Okay, so I just want to go over a couple of things that I started last week. Now, you would have noticed, or you would have seen that terrible concoction of wires in video 21 when I connected up a heat gun to this fermenter. Now, this fermenter, I'll just turn it around. Okay, it's a commercial fermenter, and it has it's a double skin. So it has an input and output ports here and here. And what this does is it allows you to pump a liquid into the outside skin to warm your fermentation batch. So it's designed to take a fluid, and for me, I wanted to be able to move my equipment around. And normally this would be in a spot, bolted to the ground, and you couldn't move because they'd be a lot bigger. All right? So it's obviously safer to have them bolted down. Hence there are bolt marks in the bottom of this, bolt holes in the bottom of this where you can bolt it down. But for me to have this connected to some sort of liquid heating process was just going to be too difficult. So what I did is I came up with a solution where I used a heat gun. Now, don't worry about the brand, it's just the one that was cheap, $49 at Bunnings. So I just taped a triple clamp on there, popped it onto there, and then connected that to the PID. And I have to say, it worked brilliantly. For the last 7 days, it has kept this at a constant temperature. I haven't had to worry about it. And, you know, for the first few days, I checked on it a lot to make sure it wasn't getting too hot or, you know, all the rest of it. But the beauty of this particular one is it has a temperature gauge here. So you can go from 0 degrees here right through to 600 watts. I'll come a bit closer so you can see that. So I'll just, hopefully that's in camera. So here it's 600 watts, and each one of those knots is about 100 watts. So I had it set at just under 100 watts, and that's where it stayed for the 7 days. So it was only 100 degrees Celsius. So it was 100 degrees Celsius to 600 degrees Celsius all the way through there. So I had it set for 100 degrees Celsius or just under, and for that 7 days, it just lightly puffed air into this skin and kept it warm. So it means that I didn't have to contend with liquids, and, you know, when I want to disconnect it, I don't have liquids going everywhere and all the rest of it. And that worked out really well. So I will be using that system for me. I've got an adapter port here. I will fix that up so it's not quite as dodgy looking as what it does look. So to make sure that it's just nicely injecting that hot air into the fermenter, and it just comes out here as an exhaust. So it's pushing the hot air down, and it comes out the bottom here in little puffs. Uses very little electricity, and yeah, it just worked really well. So that was a positive with that. So I'm just turning this around very gently because I don't want it to fall off. All right, so that's that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to be popping the lid in a minute, and we'll have a look to see how it's going. I'm going to do a specific gravity reading and a pH reading. As you know, I started off at a specific gravity of 1.08 and a pH of 4.75. So the 4.75 in hindsight was probably, I think, a little low, but what we'll do is we'll check the specific gravity now, and then we'll do a pH. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to take about 80 mils. And okay, so we have 80 mils in there. Okay, now it's at 28 degrees, so I'm just going to leave that there, and we'll come back to that a little bit later on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop the top. Now, okay, mistakes. For those of you who were watching last week, you would have seen, I'll show you a video of this a bit later on in a few minutes, little plastic cap. Now, when you put the plastic cap, I put the plastic cap, hang on, I'll just take the bucket off here. I put the plastic cap just on the end here. Now, when you look at it, it's actually quite loose. It's very loose. It wasn't a tight seal at all, so it's able to move quite freely. And I just thought that would be good just in the initial stages, just to let it build up a little bit of CO2 in the head here and come down through here, so we're not sucking oxygen back in, because I didn't want the yeast to get the oxygen, any more oxygen than what I'd already put in the wash. So as it turns out, that was a mistake. And And what happened is that because this cap has I'll just show you, this cap has a very slight lip just here on the sort of, so what happened is as the pressure built up in here, it pushed down the center of this cap, which then sealed it tighter around the outlet there. And so this actually started to build up quite a bit of pressure. And we set it at about 5 p.m. at night. That's when we sealed it all up. It was about 5 o'clock. And at 9:20, we had an explosion. So here is the video of that from my trusty security camera and a none too happy wife. So I'll put that up now. So as you can see, just look at the arrow and you'll see that you can see where the bucket is and where the pipe outlet is. I know it's a bit dark and grainy, but that's just where it is. And then if you keep watching, then you'll see the bucket rock. And with that came a very loud bang. And you will see that we both raced in, and yes, you can see that my wife is none too happy and giving me the rounds of the table and telling me exactly what she thinks of the fermenter and my hobby or my little business. And me then trying to explain to her that everything is okay, and I actually had allowed for reflux, not the bang, but the reflux. Now what had happened is that the cap had blown off, hit the bucket and landed down near, hit the garage door, made a big bang, and as you've probably seen, you can see there that the bucket got around about 2 litres of reflux, or 2 litres of liquid into it. And I probably lost a fair bit of yeast in what happened. So the aggressiveness of the fermentation wasn't probably as high as what it normally would have been, and probably why it's taken so long, the 7.5 days for us to get to this point. Now I haven't taken a specific gravity reading today, so I don't know what it's going to be. I know yesterday it was slowing down a lot, so we'll do that in a minute. But what we'll do is we'll pop the lid and I'll show you how it's going. So here we go, the moment of truth. Okay, just pop that down there, lift that up. Okay, let that come down. Okay, all right. So I'll just grab my torch so we get some light in there. So you're going to see this as I've seen it, because I actually haven't had a look in there. But what I'll do is I'll grab my ladder first. All right, so the moment of truth has arrived. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, it's pretty clean on the lid there, and we've still got some bubbles. As you can see, it is still fermenting right in the middle there. Definitely a smell of champagne in the air. Haven't lost too much in volume. No, so that's it. It's still actually fermenting. So what we'll do is we'll close it up now straight away. I didn't get any residual on the lid, so that was good. But I will close it up and we'll let it continue to ferment. Not much activity, but still a little bit of activity in the fermentation. So that was interesting. Okay, so I've allowed that to cool down. So what we'll do now is we'll test the specific gravity. So I'll just pop that in here, give it a twirl. All right. So it's at just on 1.02. So we started off at 1.08 and we're now at 1.02. Obviously I'd like to get that down another 2 or 3 points, 1.022. So yes, if I can get it down a few more points, well, that would be good. But that's where it's sitting at the moment, at that rate. So, okay, slowly getting there. As I said, this has been fermenting for 7.5 days, and I will wash that so don't have a heart attack. Now, the next thing I'll do is to check the pH. Now, this yeast has an effective pH of between 3.5 and operational ability from 3.5 to 5.2. So that's the ideal range for pH for this yeast. So as I said, we started at 4.7. So let's see how we're going. Yep, you can see that. So we'll pop it in there. So it's 3.72, 3.71. So we're still above the absolute ideal range at 3.67. So that's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. I know that's quite low, but as I said, 3.5 to 5.2 is the ideal pH for the particular brand of yeast that I'm using. So that's working well. All right, so I'll give that a rinse out as well, and we'll just keep going and leave it for a few more days. Okay, so I'm just going to seal it up again, seeing as we've done that, and we know how we're going. So at the moment, we've still got a little bit of fermentable sugars in there. We do have a little bit up our sleeves at the moment. Temperature is good, pH is still good for the particular yeast that I'm using. So everything is going to plan. So I'll just put the gasket on there. Oops, there we go. One of the things I was a little concerned about when using the heat gun, just when I'm talking about gaskets, is I was a bit concerned using the heat gun that the heat from the heat gun would damage the gasket. And this is the gasket that I was using on the heat gun, and it's actually hasn't deformed it at all. Now that was, I would say, because I did keep it at around about 75, 80 degrees Celsius and didn't push it above that, so it didn't get too hot. This never got, I could always put my hand on the heat gun, so it wasn't to a point where it was too hot for me to put my hand on, and that was important, obviously. So that worked out well. Okay, so I've got to go back to work tomorrow, and so this is not going to get distilled for another week, but hopefully next weekend, which is Monday, Tuesday for me, we'll be able to run this through the still, this little baby here, for its first run, and hopefully that'll net the results that I want to. And I'm sort of banking on the fact that we'll get it down those extra couple of points on the SG and convert all those sugars into alcohol. I think I've covered everything I want to cover today. Thanks for watching. I love the comments, and everyone has their opinion, and I welcome them all. And as I said, I'm no guru. I'm not making myself out to be any distilling guru, and I welcome all comments. And there is obviously various ways to do things, and so any information I can get is good information as far as I'm concerned. I'm always willing to hear what other people have to say. So that's it for me today. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay legal. Ciao for now. Distilling alcohol is illegal in Australia unless you hold the appropriate licenses and permits. I am not a lawyer and the contents of this video are not intended to be legal advice. Do not rely on any information contained in this video and seek your own legal professional advice before making any decisions. Be aware, the Australian Tax Office and the local law enforcement agencies will be taking interest in this channel due to its content. Please keep this in mind before posting any comments. Any comments posted are the opinion of the person posting and not of this channel. Let's get started.